morning. It's a very rainy day here in Florida. Today, I wanted to share with you how it is possible for you to be stuck in the frequency of fear at the subconscious level without even knowing it, and how this discovery has changed my life. You guys, you don't even know. Like, I was diagnosed with this very painful disease. It's called ulcerative colitis. The diagnosis came about, I would say, 3 years ago when my daughter was about 1 year old. Because after the pregnancy, apparently I had it before that, but after the pregnancy, it got worse. And I don't know if you have never heard of ulcerative colitis. Basically, what it is like your intestines get very inflamed, and they get filled with ulcers. And it got to the point where I couldn't even function. I mean, I was in so much pain. I would go to the bathroom like a lot, but not really go. And it got to the point where I was sitting on the couch putting like cold pads on my tummy, trying to just survive the day. And what they told me was that I would have this forever and that it could not be healed. And all they could do for me is give me steroids to manage the inflammation. But I wasn't happy with that diagnosis, especially having a young child. I needed to function. And I know what are the long term side effects of taking steroids, and they're not good. So I began this journey of healing myself. And at first, I did like a juice cleanse. I discovered that juicing cabbage was helpful when it came to ulcers. And I started to eliminate all these things from my diet. And it got to the point where my diet was so restricted. It was a huge cause of stress in my life. I couldn't go anywhere, I couldn't eat anything. I was always just thinking about what my reaction would be to food. And it got really stressful. Then I got pregnant and I lost a baby at 4 months. And it was very painful. And I was just tired of the whole situation of struggling with my health. And on top of that, I was struggling to keep up with work. I have a business with my husband. We've had it for years, and I have my own business too. But the demands of like being ill and dealing with my daughter and all that were a lot, and on that journey to heal myself. Then I was lucky enough to go into this like deep journey because after losing the baby, I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I don't know how, but I'm a huge believer of the law of attraction, that you can manifest your life. And I've used the law of attraction consistently in my life. I've always said that I live through vision. I've created these visions in my life and I've been able to accomplish them, such as, traveling the world, creating my company, all these things I've done through that. But for some reason, when it came to my health, I was still struggling with that. I was getting better, but it was just so deep. And I still felt like I would sabotage myself constantly in different areas of my life. Anyway, so after losing the baby, I decided that enough is enough. And I started to study every single teacher I could get my hands on. Jean Ron, Joseph Murphy, like all these incredible teachers. And they all talked about how the source was the subconscious mind. That everything that is manifested in your life, about 95%, is due to the programs that you're running at the subconscious level. And that's how I ended up finding PSYCH-K, because after I figured out, okay, it's my subconscious mind, is what's going on in there, how do I change it? And doing my research, I found Bruce Lipton, I found PSYCH-K, and I decided to become a facilitator. The first day I came in, my arm was stuck. I had this like huge pain in my right arm. I couldn't move it. We don't really know how I injured it, but the point was that I couldn't move it. And I remember my teacher looked at me and she sort of like smiled, like, don't worry, we're going to take care of that. And then I told them about my problem with my digestive system. Like when it came time for lunch, when I was becoming a facilitator, everybody was like, oh, let's go here, let's go there. And I'm like, I have to be very mindful of what I eat. Like I can't. So I would bring my own food and I would be like kind of bummed out. Like everybody was eating like all this delicious food. And I was all like with my little salad in the corner, Um, and the teacher said, we can work on that with Psych-K. I was like, oh man, amazing. So the first thing that we did was work on my arm, and it took about 4 days to heal it completely. Same thing with the arm. Like I went to a chiropractor, and I went to different. I went to the hospital at one point because I was in so much pain, and they all told me that this would take like maybe a year of therapy. That would be really hard for me to fix it. That maybe I would need some kind of surgery. They did an MRI in my arm, and it turned out that I had like this blood clot, like almost like when you have you hit yourself and you have like this blood accumulation. I had that, and I also had a calcification, a very large calcification that wouldn't allow me to move my arm. My arm was literally stuck. And I started to work with Psych-K, and I discovered that in that arm, I had trauma from when I was a kid. And my stepdad would like beat me, and he would pull me by this arm. He would like lift me by this arm and then like beat me. And how that experience was stuck in my arm. In addition to that, I had other experiences such as like not feeling good enough, not feeling loved, not feeling accepted. And remember, these are all things that come from my childhood. These are not conscious things. As an adult, I think differently. But when I checked through muscle testing that we do in Psych-K, I discovered that I had all these issues stuck in my arm. And it was also related to my relationship with my dad. So I did all that healing. I worked on it for like 4 days. And out of a sudden I had this urge to like do all these weird movements. And then out of a sudden I could lift my arm, which was crazy because my arm was so stuck. And after that, it was just a matter of strengthening it and continue to strengthen and heal my relationship with the masculine. And within a week or so, my arm was just almost like completely back to normal. And now I'm like strong again. Now, back to the ulcerative colitis. The first day after I was done becoming a facilitator, I came home and I did my first healing. And it was incredible. Like, I I started to like cry and laugh at the same time. I had this like healing crisis. I was like laughing and crying. Tears were pouring down my eyes, and I could feel like all this energy that had been stuck in my intestines just like leave my body. And for the first time after that, I was able to drink coffee, which was major for me because I grew up drinking coffee. I mean, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm half Cuban, and coffee is like a big deal for us, especially like it reminds me of my grandmothers. I was able to drink coffee again, which was exciting, and out of a sudden, I could eat things that I hadn't eaten in years, and I started to have a lot of fun with that. But there have been more layers to the issue with my intestines, and this past couple of days, I started to have pain again. And I've realized that whenever I have pain, it has a lot to do with what I'm thinking about myself. First, I had to heal a lot of like mean things that I've been saying to myself. And like I said, this is not something conscious. It was at the subconscious level. I had all these thoughts like, I'm not good. Everything I do is wrong. Um, I'm not good enough to have what I want. These kinds of thoughts were all sort of stuck in my third chakra, and they were causing a lot of these problems. When I healed those, a lot of the pain went away. But then yesterday, I connected to the fact that I was in the frequency of fear at the subconscious level, which was pretty shocking. I realized that I was constantly projecting the worst case scenario when it came to the future. Whenever I had a problem, I would unconsciously, right, at the subconscious level, not realizing it. At first, I would sit down and do my manifesting, right? I create my vision, I visualize it, and in that moment, I'm being positive. But then, when I wasn't paying attention to what was going on at the subconscious level of my mind, it was all negative thoughts. And I've always said, I'm a very positive person. And it was shocking for me to realize that I had all these fearful thoughts at the subconscious level. And that's when I understood this idea of you're either in the frequency of love or you're in the frequency of fear. I understood that what it means is that you can be in the frequency of fear at the subconscious level without even realizing it. I was constantly dreading, like, the worst case scenario. What if this happens? What if that happens? And it was like within me, I had this idea that there was some kind of emergency. My body was stuck in fight or flight, just completely fearful, like feeling like I had to have my guards up because if I relaxed, then something bad might happen. And it's bunkers. It's bunkers. And so I had to, with PSYCH-K, I went in and I balanced for I am focused on the best case scenario. I balanced for my body is relaxed and happy. My intestines are relaxed, happy, balanced. I balanced for all the cells in my body are now returned to their original divine function and highest level of health. I balanced for my focus is on happiness. And I had to go through like different kinds of fears. And even I tackled, I asked if I had like analogical experiences from past lives of like having been in danger. And it came up positive, right? Of course, in PSYCH-K, when you do muscle testing, you don't do it as a question, you do it as a statement. And I asked as a statement, like I have had um, very painful experiences of being in danger in past lives, and it came up positive. So it came up strong. So I worked on that because I don't know if you're still debating whether or not we've lived more than once, but in my case, I've had near-death experiences. You know, I was a kid that had like very awakened, um, like CDs, or I was very empathic. I could see a little bit. So for me, it's not even a question, to be honest. But I respect everybody's opinion. But from what I've studied, and the reason why I feel like PSYCH-K is like the cherry on top for me in terms of my practice, is that I understand about past lives and how that can affect your current reality. I understand about family constellations and how there are certain things that get passed down from one generation to the next. And I've worked on all of that in relation to my intestines. And every day I feel like I'm just doing better and better. And I'm starting to connect my brain, my subconscious mind, to a loop of thoughts that are related to peace, to love, to abundance, to self love, instead of in a constant loop of negativity. And I know that the more I do this and the more connected I am to that, the higher my frequency. And so I tend to attract new things, places, and ideas and people into my life. And that's the power of PSYCH-K. So, this is my Awakenings with PSYCH-K blog for today. I hope you're having a fantastic day. You know that if you identify that you are stuck in the frequency of fear, nothing to be ashamed about. I think it's very common. Unfortunately, in the society that we live in, we have the news 24/7 now. We go on social media and we see what happened to this person and that person. And then, we have parents that maybe went through fear and tried to protect us through instilling fear in us. And as an adult, we could still be suffering from that at the subconscious level. And that can have major effects, side effects in our health, our results, our lives. And it is powerful to go in and deal with those and reprogram them. And that's what I do. So that's my 2 cents. Sending you love. I'll see you in a session or in another video.